And here we go. Digital Adele back with another Hoops Profile Beyond the Backboard podcast for you with my co host, Matt Hanifan. Real quick, I just wanted to let you guys know I've got too many titles going. I got Beyond the Backboard, I got College to the Pros, I got Hoops Profile. We got to eliminate some of these. So I think going forward, I'm just going to introduce it as Hoops Profile. And whatever we talk about, we talk about. Like, I think that's about it. But just way too many titles. Um, it messes up also the search algorithm for people to find the content. So we're eliminating a lot of titles. We're just gonna go back to Hoops Profile. That's all we're gonna do. But anyway, how are you doing today, Matt? How are things?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. How about yourself? It's conference
Uh,
tournament week.
yes,
Conference tournament week. March Madness selection Sundays this upcoming week. March Madness, I will be at for at least a few days. It's coming up next week. Very
outstanding.
excited. Yeah, man. It's best time of year for college hoops, man. Best
I
time.
love it, man. Love to hear it. Absolutely. We got conference tournament time, like you said. The brackets will come out on Sunday. Me and Brian Fonseca are putting together something for that day. So there's going to be content to come out surrounding the 2025 NBA draft and the pairings and matchups. Basically, like a guide of what to watch. So we're going to be doing that. Matt's live on site for a while. I mean, there's exciting times around not only college basketball, not only NBA prospects, but one Matt Hanifan and his journey through the tournament. So I'm
Yeah, I don't
excited
know.
for you.
Again, it's still random. I'll be in Seattle for 3 days, 4 days.
Yeah,
Visiting family because I have family that lives up there as well. So I don't know if I'll be able to see any prospects because we don't know which
we
team, where the
we
teams are
don't know
playing.
yet. We don't know yet. That's right.
I might see. I don't know. I could see anyone
I can't
except
wait.
Duke.
And
I
that's
don't think
that's
we'll see.
gonna that's gonna have something for me to keep an eye on for whenever me and Brian do that show. I'm gonna try to shout you out, be like, "Oh, Matt Hanifan's gonna be able to watch him live."
Yeah. No, yeah. I'm pumped for it. I'm pumped for conference tournaments. The Mountain West tournament begins Wednesday. So
Outstanding.
tomorrow. Um, yeah, man. This is the best. Again, the best time of year, man. The best time of year. So I'm doing.
Absolutely.
I'm doing very well to answer your question in a very long-winded fashion.
That's all right, man. You're a long-winded type of dude. So let's jump right into what we've come to talk about today. We're going to talk about the top 10 shooting guards you should know from the 2025 NBA draft. Now, if you've followed our content all year, we've covered pretty much every single prospect that you can imagine outside of some of the international guys. If I haven't covered them in depth on the channel, that means I haven't had an opportunity to watch them. Now, let me preface some of these international kids play like 10 minutes a game. Like Hugo Gonzalez never plays. I've tried to watch him play 8 or 9 times, never saw him play. So it's one of those things where, we've got almost everybody. First round, I've seen almost everybody that's projected to go in the second round for the most part. And yeah, the international guys, some of them like Rocco Jarski is a mystery to me. Michael Ruzic. I'm not even going to pronounce Markovic's first name. Not even going to try.
I did watch Seraph. I told you I would do it.
Oh, you finally watched them.
I did watch Seraph. I was
Let's
only able to watch a
go.
couple of games because how they're not very available on YouTube.
Right.
But I was able to watch one of his games from December. And I also watched one of his Euro Cup games.
Okay.
He was with Israel. I like the player. There were some tendencies where I'm like, okay, that's
Right.
gonna have to be fixed. But he was
Right.
good. He was good. The stuff that I loved about him, at least again, very, very initial watch.
Right.
Um, I think like he knew how to settle down the
Yeah.
team's offense when he was on the floor. Like that was something that I liked. Like he would settle it down. The person that he reminded me of just very instantaneously, not because he's a lefty or they're both lefties. He kind of reminds me of Goran.
Oh yeah, he's got a little Gogi in his game.
Yeah, he reminds me a little bit of Goran. Um,
Gogi was the better shooter
yeah,
early.
I thought he saw the floor well. But the stuff that I liked about him was his engagement defensively. Like
Absolutely.
that was something that I liked about him a lot, especially like off the ball.
Mhm.
Um, there was some stuff where like he doesn't have a he's not like he doesn't have an incredibly explosive first step, but it's good enough.
It's good
Um,
enough. Yeah, it's good
and
enough.
I don't know, his finishing's a little bit weird to me
Right.
because there were times where he shied away from contact, and it was
Right.
just like,
He does that. Yeah, he does
yeah.
that.
So it's like, okay, like maybe that's something to work on, but like he has an NBA ready body. He again, he saw the floor well. Like there was a few times where he made some really nice skip passes,
Mhm.
really nice reads. But no, I for an 18-year-old like who he could fill it up, he can get to the rim. Um, like when he was finishing through contact was something that I like. Okay, there's some mixed reps here, but like it wasn't
Right.
bad per se for someone who's 6'5", 6'6".
Right.
The shot was, at least in the games that I saw, okay, but not great. The shot selection was more so concerned, but like
Right.
he's 18.
And
Like
not
I'm
only
not.
that, like his balance, he's never on balance when he
Yeah,
shoots ever. So
yeah.
like
There were a few times where he had like some contested twos where I'm just like, I don't love this,
right.
where he's off balance, but like
Right.
again, I like the player. But
I do too.
it's only a 2-game sample from what I watched, so it's not like
But all of it matches up to what I've watched. You
yeah,
know what I mean? So like you're not far off. I mean, the other thing about him is that because he's 18, you don't all the time realize you're bigger than other people or how
right.
strong you are, you know? So that's where some of that finishing through contact will get better as time goes on. But I'm glad you got to watch him because I really like him a lot, man. I think
For
he's really
someone
good.
who's 18 years old, I think this kid's gonna be like a legit dude at some
Yeah,
point. That
absolutely.
he absolutely shows. I don't know if he's a point guard or a combo guard, like, that's something I'm still trying to figure out,
Right.
but, like, I think he can again, he's more advanced than some of the point guards that we've watched in this class
Yes.
already, for someone who's 18 and playing professional basketball
And
already.
that positional size is
Right,
something that you can't teach. And the fact that he's that fast with that positional size, that he
yeah.
gets to wherever he wants to go. Um, I love it. I love the prospect, and in the wide open NBA, pace and space, be able to get up and down the floor. Like imagine if he goes to some place like Indiana or something like that, where he can just
Oh,
run
yeah.
up and down the floor.
He's
Like
very savvy. Like,
yes.
there was a few different times, this was mostly in the Euro Cup game that I watched. There
Mhm.
were times where he wasn't able to create advantage with his right, and so he would always spin back to his left.
Right.
And, like, that's a tendency where it's like it kinda reminds me of, like, someone like Jaime Jaquez, for example, who just, like, if he's not able to create an advantage with either one of his hands, he'll spin back to the other, and he's a left-handed dominant player. He can
Right.
still go to his right and use his right. And so again, those are just those, like, just minor things,
Right.
that
Things
he
18-year-olds can overcome. Like they
right,
can learn
right.
from.
But, like, he's very for someone who's 18, with the ball in his hands, he's savvy.
Yes.
Like, there's some savvy where it's just like, oh, like, he's able to create advantage with a few of these moves, few of these crossovers, especially
Get you on
against
his
bigger
hip.
players,
Yep. He'll
like,
get
that
you
was
on his
something
hip
that
and he'll ride you down the lane too.
yeah, yeah. No, I like the player. I'll say that for again, that's a very initial evaluation, but I like the player. But
Absolutely.
you did tell me to do my homework, and I did do my homework, so, hey.
Which I appreciate. I do appreciate that. Because he's an interesting prospect, and
Yeah.
I thought you'd want to get some reps on him because when it comes time to come to the draft, he's going to go higher than people think, and you're going to be able to give him an answer to why.
I would take him over Fears. Like, I would take him over some of these guys.
Now
Like,
he's see-
as of right now,
now you get it. Now
I
you
would
get
do
it.
it. That's not a knock against those other guys. Let me
No.
just make that clear. That's not a knock, but I just again, for someone who's been playing professional basketball already, and for someone who I think I read somewhere that he was the MVP of the under 18 Euro Cup.
Yeah, I
Um,
think that's correct. And one of the things too, when he's on the big club, they start coming back every time he comes in the game because
yeah,
he came off the bench for a while. He'd come off the bench, come in the game, they start winning. He goes, sits down, they start losing. Like
yeah.
there's tangible evidence of him affecting winning on that team.
Especially like, again, there's some stuff defensively where I'm like, This kid is gonna like if he goes in the right system in the right place, like these guys are gonna love him.
Like
The
Miami?
teammate, yeah. If Miami drafted him, Spo would fall in love with this guy
For sure. And he's
for
got
what he
he's
does.
got some stuff to him, right? Like he'll talk some trash.
Oh yeah, yeah. He
He'll
has
talk
that.
some
Yeah, he has
trash.
that. I guess for lack of better phrase, like competitive demeanor about him.
Yes.
Like he's got some. It feels like to me like he's got some fu to his game. Very
Absolutely.
good.
Well, we came here today though to talk about shooting guards, not point guards.
Yeah.
You had a question for me to open today's show. What was that question?
Well, yeah, it was just you. I know you mentioned in our Discord that you watched Donovan Dent, or at least I don't know how much of the game you were actually able to watch against
A
New
whole
Melbourne.
thing. I
The re-
rewatched it. Yeah.
Okay, just initial thoughts. Like what? Since I gave my first reaction on Ben Serif, what was your first reaction on Donovan Dent? Who's, by the way, a worse player.
Yeah, he's not nearly as good. Right. He's not nearly as good as Ben
No.
Serif in terms of being a prospect. If Ben Serif was in college and played in that conference, he would just dismantle everybody.
For 3 years.
Yeah. So, but Donovan Dent is a very interesting player. I mean, obviously, the first thing that stands out, he's incredibly small. Terrific ball handler. He's actually really fast. His finishing around the rim is kind of incredible for his size. Like the touch he has around the rim is unbelievable. The same thing with the body control. It makes for a great college player.
Yeah.
He's going to be a UDFA. Somebody might take a flyer on him the very, very end of the second round because of how decorated he is. But you got to be an elite facilitator at that size. I mean, he's not that. He's a good facilitator, but he's not an elite facilitator. He doesn't shoot the 3-ball. So at that size, it's going to be very difficult. In Europe, I mean, he can make a pretty good living overseas. He can make a pretty good living. I mean, the G League doesn't pay much, but he could be in the G League for a very long time. He's just an incredible college player. I just don't think he's an NBA guy. That's my initial thoughts. Just incredible touch around the basket. Like, it's just unbelievable.
I agree. Again, I love him to death. There's a reason why I had him 9 and not higher.
Right. For sure.
Among point guards.
And now that you've seen Ben Serif, he's probably been pushed down even further. Because Ben's probably climbed your board.
Yeah, I had Nolan on my list.
Yeah. I mean, Nolan Traore is good too. Like his ability to facilitate is pretty special, but we'll get into him when we talk about point guards some more. But let's get this thing kicked off. Everybody's here. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Come visit us on Playback as well. We're going to get into the top 10 shooting guards you should know right now. And the number one guy, no question about it, the number one guy out of all the shooting guards, because we're not classifying Kasper Jakachonis as a shooting guard, right?
No.
All right. We're not categorizing Serif or Denman as shooting guards, right?
Nope, I don't have either of on my list.
All right, cool. We'll categorize Jace Richardson as a shooting guard, obviously Con Knippel.
I don't have Jace. Considering I had Jace on my point guard list.
I think he can be both. I really do, because...
Me too. But
because he's more of a shooting guard than a point guard.
For the sake of conversation...
Yeah.
I did not
keep him off.
Yeah, I mean, you can have him if you want. I don't care. But like,
all right, I'll take him. So
I put him on my point guard list, so I didn't think about.
That's all right. You know me. I not make these up. I do the research and all that, but I do my list in real time.
Inventing new prospects to put on your list.
That's right. I invent people. VJ Edgecombe from Baylor is my number one shooting guard. Just outstanding, unique athlete that you rarely get to see. And if he's legitimately 6'5", I have concerns about that. I don't know if he's legitimately 6'5". I'm very interested in his measurables, but that ability to just explode from as a vertical athlete, a one-footed athlete, stop-start perspective, just unbelievable athlete. And then the stuff he's been able to do with his shooting is, just solidified it for me. His ball handling's gotten better, decision making's gotten better, stud defensively, over 2 steals per game. I really like everything VJ Edgecombe. What about yourself?
You hit the nail on the head, and I'm looking at it now. 39.1% on 5 attempts from 3 in conference play.
Yeah.
Like, there was a lot again, we belabored it on here early in the season where we were like, uh, the defense is good, but and he's, incredibly athletic and agile, but, like, the offense, the on-ball reps aren't good, the
Right.
shot's not falling, like and then all of a sudden conference play comes. I know Baylor suffered a couple injuries in their backcourt, and he just kinda took off and hasn't looked back since.
So, and that's what you want to look for, because I've seen so many incredible athletes in college basketball just fizzle out, you know what I mean, and not have an NBA career. A lot of that is due to there was no growth.
Yeah.
They were just athletes the whole time in college. And so I was really interested to see what kind of growth the kid would have. And that's what really done it, sold it for me, is the fact that his game has grown, and you can kind of show that that's going to continue to happen, because he's only going to be 19 years old when the draft rolls around. So
Yeah.
excited
And
about that guy.
the on-ball reps still aren't great, but, like, I think just everything his offensive profile in general is much better than it was early in the season, and I think that's something that
Absolutely.
and a lot of it has to do with, the shot falling and him becoming more comfortable, in
Right.
that area. Um, Something that I think goes not under talked about, just outside of all the athleticism and whatnot. He's a very good rebounder for someone his size.
Yeah,
Um,
he is.
I am with you. I think he'll probably clock in at like 6'2.5", 6'3" without shoes.
I think so too. That's actually a very good observation out of you.
And so like that, I mean, I think he'll be, so I give or take an inch and a half, 2 inches with shoes, but
Right.
I think he's around his listed measurements as of right now. But to your point, I'm very interested to see what his wingspan is.
Yes.
I think that's the thing that I'm most interested about. Not
Wingspan
that
and
it will
hand size.
completely deplete his draft stock or anything if
Right.
he comes in with short arms, but um,
T-Rex arms.
yeah, like but that's something because it doesn't look like he has incredibly long arm. Like it looks like it's not like Drake Powell or someone who had
Right.
like Drake Powell could stand up and his arms would probably his hand could probably touch the ground.
Speaking of Drake Powell, his defense has gotten even better. The last game I
Oh yeah.
saw, he was an absolute menace on a
Oh yeah.
defensive end. But number 2, who do you have number 2, Matt? Because this is actually where, in my mind, looking at the list of players, it started getting difficult for me already. At the number 2 spot.
Trey Johnson.
That's a great one. That's a great one.
That's it.
Wax
It's more
poetic
of
about
like
Trey.
I honestly this top 3,
Yeah.
it's a 1A, 1B, 1C for me.
Okay.
Just because I think they're all very good prospects in their own way, and I I also had BJ 1. Um, to me, his edge is more so like what he can do defensively and his ceiling with that,
Right.
considering how athletic and instinctive and agile and his, crazy body control, like
Right.
all of that I think gives him the edge over Trey, but Trey's just like you and I are probably Trey's biggest fans or two of his biggest fans. Um,
Absolutely.
just because of like how good of a shot maker he is. Uh, we think there's more playmaking upside. We think there's more defensive upside. I know he doesn't like completely fill it up in the rebounding area, but you don't
Right.
really need that from him all that much. It sucks that Texas is currently a first four out team. We're on their outside looking in heading into the tournament
Yeah.
because he'd be someone that'd be really fun. At worst, I hope they don't have the ego to discount NIT games because I know some programs that don't make the tournament have done that over the last few years. I
Yep. You're
hope
right
Texas
about that.
I hope Texas plays in the NIT, and I hope we're still able to see Trey because he's played at such an exceptionally high level against SEC play this
Yeah.
year, to where it's like you just can't ignore it at this point. And like, I know I've had my concerns about him getting to the free throw line and him, generating rim pressure, but like
Right.
when he's able to get his feet under him and when he's open, like he's so incredibly efficient. And he could, he is their offense. Like,
Even when he's not open, he creates a lot of space with those step
right,
backs, and he's
right.
always on balance when he does it. I found it really unfortunate that he doesn't really have any help. I know Pope can have some big games at times, but because he doesn't have very much help, when he played Oklahoma, they literally blitzed him as soon as he got over half court. There was
Yeah,
two
that Oklahoma
guys.
game wasn't great for his numbers.
No, he was like 0 for 14 or something like that.
Yeah,
But he was 7 for 7 from the foul line, had 7 rebounds, 6 assists. You know, he he had a couple of steals. So he still affected the game in other ways, and they had a chance to win.
right.
It's just that because he doesn't have help, and you can send 2 guys at him as soon as he's over half court, he's gonna have some trouble, And that's kind of where I'm at with them. It's kind of how I feel about Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper. However, since there's 2 of them on the team, it gives me a little more pause. But Trey, I just find the lack of help and what he's been able to do, the work ethic, the leadership. I think all of those things are why I'm with you at number 2. But here's what was really difficult for me. I love Con Knippel's game. Love Con Knippel's game. The only thing that holds me back from Con Knippel is him being able to create off the bounce. He doesn't have it. I mean, he has it a little bit, but he really doesn't have it. That Duke offense, he really just attacks the close.
Yeah.
Coming off PNRs and attacking close. That's what he does. So the lack of being able to get his own shot is what worries me. But I think there's some of that ability in there because he does do it a little bit. He just needs to improve that foot speed. He has to really make that a priority. It's one of the knocks I have on Liam McNeely, who's not as good as Con Knippel, but
yeah,
it's one of the things that I hold him back. That's why he's a high level connector piece. But for me, number 3 clearly has to be Con Knippel. I know I love Jace. I love Jace Richardson. But Knippel's shooting 91% from the free throw line, 40% from 3, 47% from the field, while dishing out 2.5 assists and grabbing 4 rebounds per game at 6'7", but I think he's going to come in at 6'5". Maybe he's legit 6'7", who knows? But he's also a brick wall on defense. So his defense is terrific as well. So Con Knippel is my number 3. I just think the world of that kid's game. Who do you have third?
No, it's Con. I don't think there's any considering I don't have Jace on my list.
That's right. He's not even in your list.
Well, even though I wouldn't consider Jace anyway for 3, like right. I think there's a big enough gap to where it's just like there's really no question in my mind.
Yeah.
But no, it's like he does a little bit of everything for you.
And it doesn't just do a little bit of everything. Like his percentages are like, I don't think people, and not saying you, I don't think people realize how rare it is for someone to have those kind of percentages on those types of minutes that he plays. Like,
yeah.
And also, again, I'll reference this. That Duke team basically says Con Knippel's the one guy, the one guy on the team. Like, if you had to pick a guy that you didn't want to get into a fight with, it's Con Knippel. Everybody on the team says that.
I don't know, man. I wouldn't want to get into a fight with Malawach, maybe over just because, like, his reach.
I didn't say it. I'm telling you what all his teammates said. That's what his teammates said, according to the broadcast.
I still would pick Malawach.
Malawach, Sion James.
His reach is insane. I couldn't do it.
Well, I'm not saying you would fight either one of them.
No, I wouldn't. No. No.
But I just, for somebody that plays 30 minutes per game to shoot those those percentages, I just find that to be a special trait. And his assist to turnover ratio is a 2.
Yeah.
Like he's just such a great winning player. But who do you have number 4, Matt?
Cam Jones. Cam
Jones from Marquette. Golden Eagles.
there's a big enough gap to where I have like would clearly be in my second tier
Hmm.
among these, among the shooting guards. His efficiency has taken a dip this year. I think part of it is how much responsibility he's at offensively, but like
Yep.
he's still down to 65% shooting from the free throw line, which is a little bit concerning. He's shooting 26% from 3 in conference play, which is also a little bit concerning. So,
Have you seen the shots he takes in conference
yeah,
play?
that's where it's just I don't always love it, but I love watching. Like he's one of my favorite. I said this before, and I actually said this on Saturday.
Right.
He's one of my favorite mid to late first round prospects because I think if you put him in a system where he doesn't have to do as much as he's doing right now, like he's an exceptional complementary piece.
Yes.
I think he's a very good like for
Like
someone who we're
late
labeling as
first,
a
right?
combo guard. He's someone who's I think a good passer.
Yeah.
Um, he's a good rebounder. He's a good, not great finisher. Um, I mean, I want to see him finish a little bit more with his right and use that. But I, for someone who I think this year is a little bit of an outlier in terms of
Hmm.
his shooting, just all around. I think he'll be like a very good complementary
And
guard at
that's
the
why
two.
he would go late round because he's not a guy that you could envision as being your leading man. He'd
Correct.
be a complementary piece.
Correct.
This is why I have Jace Richardson above him. I I have Jace Richardson, who would be the player for me. I know you don't have him on your list at all, um, but Jace just does so much for you at the age of 18 on draft night. 6'3", 185. I think there's more facilitating chops there than people give him credit for. So I personally would go Jace. Cam, I'm struggling with over Ian Jackson.
I thought about him, but I have
Ian,
someone else above Ian. So
do you? Now that's interesting. That's
I do.
very interesting. I hope it's not Neat Clifford.
Or if I'm just gonna say it's Neat Clifford.
Oh, it is Neat Clifford.
Yep. I thought about putting Ian above him, but I have Neat at 5.
So let me explain my piece on Ian, and then you can explain your piece on Neat Clifford. So Ian Jackson, as a freshman, he's going to be a little bit older as a freshman, though. He's like 20 years old, but he's 6'4", 180 pounds. That Carolina team early in the season looked dead in the water. Like they looked completely dead in the water. And he was their
They
only
still
bright
do.
spot. Well, they look better since the
Yeah.
AC. Yeah, since the end of the season, they've looked a lot better. He's averaging 13 points per game, 41% from three, and 48% from the field. Like those are some serious numbers. And he's getting to the free throw line about 3 times a game. Not great percentage from the free throw line, only 73%. And he can rebound, and his defense has gotten a lot better. He's become a lot better defender as the season went on as well. He's got one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. He's got 8 20-point games on the year. I mean, his scoring output, his ability to shoot the basketball, I think that's going to be coveted, to NBA teams. And the fact that he's still that young and he's going to be able to be that good of a defender. So that's why I have Ian Jackson above Cam Jones. The draft age, the shooting percentage, and the field goal percentage as well.
Fair.
What are your thoughts on Neat Clifford?
I have Neek at 5. I think this was kind of how I felt about Dylan Jones last year
Mm-hmm.
to a certain extent, how incredibly productive he is and with like I mean, I think Neek is better than Dylan Jones is. Let me just
Yeah.
make that clear. Um, but just considering how well-rounded Neek has been this year, like he's averaged 29 and 5 in conference play.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
incredible.
with a steal and a half, with a half a block, like he didn't win player of the year. That actually came out today. Donovan did. And like
Of course.
rightfully so, New Mexico had a great season. Colorado State finished right behind them despite losing Isaiah Stevens. They
Right.
were projected to finish outside of the top 6, and they finished second. I still don't think they're gonna make the tournament unless they win it just because of they don't have like many great non-conference wins, Colorado State. But Neek is someone who like he took that role as kind of like your lead. He took the role as being a lead guy
Yeah.
and was still remarkably efficient. Like he shot over 40% from 3 in conference play on like pretty steady volume.
Right.
Uh, he shot, 50% from the floor, 78% from the free throw line. Like I think he got better this year as a rebounder, as a defender, to some extent as as a shot creator. And I think
His
the thing that
defensive box plus minus is actually kind of crazy. It's a
it
3.6.
he he was consistently guarding one of he either of the team's 2 best options, especially if they were wing players. And he
Right.
would take that assignment every night while having that much of an offensive burden on his shoulders. And like I understand if you want to put Ian Jackson above him or whomever above him because of the draft age. Like I think he's a very high floor player, and I think in the right context he can have a relative ceiling.
Yeah.
It's not exceptionally high. It's not higher than someone like Ian Jackson probably.
Right.
Um, but I just think the overall floor, the overall base production for someone who again had to take on the burden of being a lead creator, and he impacted winning every single night in many different ways, and he was willing to do whatever it took.
Yeah, that's not a
I just
small thing.
yeah, like I give him that. Again, it's not a marginal gap, or
Mhm.
it's not a big gap either way. It's pretty marginal. Um, but I do have him above Ian Jackson. I
Okay.
have Ian Jackson 6. So like
So
but
it's not that far off.
no, it goes Cam Jones, Neek Clifford, Ian Jackson again. Like I
Who
could
do you
see it.
have after Ian Jackson?
We'll get to that. Um,
I know you want to put Will Riley up there. I know you do.
I don't have Will Riley on my list. Breaking
You
news.
love Will Riley, dude.
Love him to death.
That's right.
Um, but yeah, I think I give Neek like again the slight edge just based on his overall productivity,
Right.
even though he is going to be 23 years old on draft night, and that does for sure limit his ceiling. But I think he could be someone who steps in day one and becomes a very impactful player in the right place.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense.
In a secondary role, I'm not expecting him to be like the the lead guy or anything in the
No.
NBA, but
No. I mean, if
someone
he's
who
leading
could
your
be
franchise, you're in some trouble.
yeah, right. If he's like the second or third fiddle on a very good team in his NBA career, perfect.
Yeah, that's a success. Yep. Um so after that, who would you have? Who do you got?
I got Miles Bird.
Wow, over Drake Powell.
I get Drake. I don't have Drake on my list. I don't have he or Will Riley on my list just because I think they're going back to school. But
Oh, okay.
that's more so a projection than an actual like I know that for a fact.
Right. But
We
so
can
you
still
think
talk about Drake
Powell's
if you
going
want.
back to school? Because I think his ability defensively has raised his stock. In my eyes, I think NBA evaluators are going to look at that size, the arm length, the defensive ability, and I think somebody's going to want to take a swing at him in the first round.
Perhaps.
Perhaps. But I could see that. I like Miles Bird. I mean, I haven't watched him nearly as much as you. 6'7", 190 pounds. He's only 20. I thought he was older, but he's only 20. Give me some Miles Bird info.
It's been disheartening. Like the first time we talked about him versus now, it's disheartening how much his 3-point percentage has dropped off.
Right.
It's a little funky, and that's something that he's going to need to work on because it is like a weird form. Um, so that's something that's going to have to be reworked. But I think I have him. He was a redshirt sophomore.
Mhm.
Um, the thing, the best part about him, and the thing that I love about him is his defensive playmaking. Like he's always in the passing lanes. He's always blocking shots like he's an exceptional shot blocker for someone who's, 6'5", 6'6". He's got, good arm length. Like I want to say he clocks in around like a near 7-foot wingspan. Um,
His his defensive box plus minus is a 5.8.
yeah,
It's
like
unreal.
he was a remarkably productive player defensively on a top 20, top 30 defense in the country.
So
And
when we
I think
compare
there's
him,
more
though,
playmaking chops there too. Like when he's able to get
Mhm.
downhill, like he's very athletic. When he's able to get downhill, he I think makes the right decision more often than not. Sometimes it comes a little bit late, but like he'll
Right?
still make the right reads and the right he doesn't have bad passing ability. Like it's solid. It's not great, but it's solid.
Yeah.
Um It's just that there just isn't much space in San Diego State's offense for him to take advantage of that
Right.
enough, or as much as you would like him to. He may be someone who could raise a stock in the tournament if they make the tournament because San Diego State is currently a team that's on the
Mhm.
bubble.
Right.
Um,
Outside looking in.
I don't wanna say outside looking in, but they're a team that were like, if they lose a game, they're if they lose tomorrow or
Mhm.
no, it'd be Thursday. If they lose Thursday to Boise State, they could be in a situation where, like, if there's another bid stealer somewhere else or another team on the bubble plays well or something like that, they could be knocked out. Like,
But let me
they've
ask
been
you a question about Miles Bird.
okay.
Last year's draft, we didn't have any franchise players really outside of Steph Castle, like on our boards. Um, Defensively, though, we had some dogs, right? You had like Ryan Dunn, Carter. Obviously, Castle's a dog defensively.
Mhm.
Um, how does Bird compare to any of them defensively? Not offensively, but defensively.
He's still a tier below,
Okay.
and I think a lot of that I think he's worse on ball than those guys.
So if he's worse on ball than those guys, he can't really shoot the three ball, doesn't facilitate a lot. It's going to be a very difficult path for him to be successful in the NBA.
I think some of the on-ball defense will come hand in hand with him getting stronger because
Yeah.
he's 6'7", but 175.
Right. It's an unbelievably light for that
Like,
size.
that's skinny. So I don't think it's a super tough path because I think he has the motor to do it.
Right.
And I just think there's some mechanical adjustments that he has to make with his jump shot, and I think he'll be better in a more pace and spaced NBA. But, like,
So
it's
like when I compare him to Jalen Bridges in my mind, Jalen Bridges is like 6'8", but he was a consistent 40% 3-point shooter. And I
yeah.
think he's just as good defensively as Miles Bird.
I don't know if he's just as good defensively.
Okay, so say it's slightly less. No?
Maybe.
Maybe?
Maybe. I think the thing that would separate the 2 is the shot blocking.
Probably the shot blocking. I don't know, man. Hold on.
And, I mean, the thing that gives me some hope,
Mhm.
it may be false hope depending on who you are, is the free throw shooting. He's
Right.
he's been 83, 84% each of the last 2 years. This year on more volume, I think, than last.
I'll give you the shot blocking because he it is elite, man. Two and a half block shots a game, right? For Miles
Yeah.
Bird? Yeah.
And he's more athletic than Jalen Willis,
He
no
is.
question.
Jalen's definitely not that athletic. That is true. So I guess the question I have then for you. Jalen Bridges, 6'8", similar builds, very long wingspan, good defender, not great. Way better at shooting the ball. 40% from three for his
Yeah.
career. Way better. Um, not as good as an athlete. Is that enough for you to put him to where he gets drafted where Bridges did not?
To me, right now, he's like a mid-second in
Okay.
my head.
Okay. Who do you have after Miles Bird on your list?
I have, like, a lump of players together.
Mhm.
We can probably make this quick because I'm sure there might be guys on your list that aren't on mine. Chaz Lanier, Kobe Bray, and KJ Lewis.
Wow, you put Kobe Bray and you put okay, interesting. That's interesting.
I mean, there's very much the possibility I'm probably leaving a name or two out that I
Well,
sh
you left Drake Powell out. Like we talked about that because you think
yeah.
he's going back to school.
Same thing with Will Riley, but again, like
Will Riley needs to go back to school.
that's more so again, that's more so a projection
Right.
than anything. But yeah, those are the 3 guys that I have. I
Let
mean,
let well let me clarify for the people, the audience, the Will Riley stuff. Will Riley is 6'8", 195-pound freshman from Illinois. Early in the season, he was invisible. I mean, you never noticed him on the floor. Lately, he's been doing some better things. Like he had a 22-point game in their win against Purdue. You know, that was a good game for him. 50% from the field, 50% from three. Made all his free throws, but that's the anomaly. That's not the norm for Will Riley. He just typically hasn't shown up. He's so skinny, dude, and not strong at all. It's unbelievable how skinny this kid is. He does average 4 rebounds per game, 2 assists per game. Doesn't turn it over, but he also doesn't facilitate or play make that much. His shooting from the field has been abysmal. His shooting from three has been abysmal. So even with all that good stuff later in the season, he's only shooting 32% from three. His defensive box plus minus is a 1.7, which is terrible. So he really needs to go back to school. I'm not sold on him as a prospect in this draft to come out. The other guy, Drake Powell, his offense really isn't his thing, as we talked about. But his defense, his defense has been fantastic. Now, on low volume, his offense has gotten better. Like he ended up shooting 39% from three on the season and 49% from the field. Doesn't facilitate at all. He'll rebound a little bit, like 3 rebounds per game, but he just can't create on his own, and he doesn't really navigate the half court offense very well. To the point of box plus minuses, his offensive box plus minus is like a 3.1, which isn't good. So that's why you're saying, he's probably going to go back to school.
Yeah.
Now, as far as my list goes, when we're looking at just pure shooting guards, there's not really a lot of guys I'd have on this list because most of them are like hybrid, like point guard type guys, like the international guys. You know what I mean? Like there's Sergio Delaria. I watched a little bit of his game. I'm not sold on him as a prospect. He's 6'6", but he's more of like a ball handling and facilitator type of guy in Europe. But he's really, not that creative. Like Jaeger Denman, he's more of a point, but he doesn't do any of that very well. So I'm not high on him either. So as far as my list goes, I would have Drake Powell, like we talked about. Chaz Lanier would probably be after that. I'm not sold on KJ Lewis.
He was almost another one of like the Will Riley and Drake Powell. Like he may need to go back to school, but
he's probably going to have to because you can't shoot 16% from three and expect to get drafted anywhere other than the second round.
Is that good?
16% from three? Ask the question again.
Is that good?
No.
I was hoping you would use your soundboard if you had it up.
Oh no,
if there was like a no button.
I don't have it. I wish I had a no on there, but I don't.
Okay.
I have insults. I can hurl some insults at you.
You are a smelly pirate hooker.
We can do that.
Okay, that whenever KJ Lewis shoots a three, that might be some people's reaction.
That's somebody's reaction. That's right. Man, yeah, that's a terrible percentage.
And last year he was what, 38%? I think on lower volume.
Lower volume.
It's not like he He's always
wasn't
been a
great, though.
16% 3-point shooter. It's
Right.
fallen off a cliff this year, and
Right. So let me go into Chaz Lanier a little bit. Chaz Lanier is 6'5", 207, but he's 23 years old draft night, right?
Yep.
He doesn't turn the ball over at Tennessee, but he shoots the freaking lights out, dude. 40% from three, 75% from the free throw line, long arms. You'd think he'd be a better defender. I mean, he's a decent defender. He's not a negative defender.
Yeah.
And he'll rebound for you about 4 a game. So the fact that he could just kind of fit in, hit the three ball, has enough positional size, that he won't be a liability for your team. That's why I'd say Chaz Lanier. Let me ask you this. Do you classify Darian Williams as a shooting guard or a wing? Small forward?
Wing.
Yeah, that's what I classified him as well.
He's more of like a 3. Like if I hypothetically put him on this list, he would probably be lumped with those last few guys somewhere. I'd actually have him number 1 over VJ. No. Yeah, he'd be somewhere in that very last tier, but I classify him more as a wing and not.
So that's my 10 then. Because I have Powell on there and you don't, and I have Richardson. Those are my 10. Because I don't think Bray gets drafted.
I'm not sure any of these last 3 guys get drafted. If I'm being completely
Who are your last 3 again?
Chaz, Kobe, and KJ.
I think Chaz could get drafted. I do. I think he could be at the bottom of that first round. Or bottom of that second round. I think somebody takes a swing on him because of his shooting and his positional size. But then
I think same thing with Kobe, though. No? Like, he led the country in 3-point shooting last year.
The reason why I lean away from Kobe is because, one, I don't think he's very physical at all. And I think Chaz is way more physical defensively.
It's true.
So he's going to be able to hold up at the point of attack. Even though Kobe's bigger, he's just not a very good defender at all. I mean,
no, he's not.
At all. He just screams undrafted to me, Kobe. He's like, you could see him in Sioux Falls for the Miami Heat.
I could see any of these 3 guys in Sioux Falls.
That's true.
If I'm being real with you, I could see Miles Byrne in Sioux Falls. Like, I don't like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not.
But I'll say this. I'll say this. The one thing about Chaz Lanier and Brea and guys like that, teams value 3-point shooting. Like, it's a commodity in today's style of play that'll get you on the floor. And if you can just fit in with the group, go with the flow, not have a big ego, play defense, I think that will go a long way. So you're probably right. It's Chaz is on the bubble. Kobe's on the bubble. I think Kobe, somebody could see that 3-point shooting in size and be like, yeah, I'll take him in the second round. It's possible.
Yeah, it'd be like you're like pick like 52.
Right. Pick 52. And I don't think Hunter Silas has any shot of being drafted at this point. Like, people were really high on him last year and I didn't see it. And I still don't see it. Like, at all. Same thing with Jameer Watkins. Don't see it. Like, Hunter Silas, you talk about a guy whose 3-point shooting fell off a cliff.
Yeah.
Shooting 28% from 3 this season.
Someone else who I thought about mentioning on here was Jackson Robinson.
I have not watched him at all.
He's like, to me, he's a very good shot maker, and like he's creative in that way. He played at BYU last year under Mark Pope. I think he was one of the only guys that is playing for him again this year. I don't think there were any other BYU transfers.
Actually, hold on real quick. I did watch Kentucky games. I was isolating Oweh.
Yeah.
I didn't notice him, so
it was more the flashes have been inconsistent.
Yeah.
He's someone else who I think will be He's also going to be like, I think 22 on draft night, 23. Like he's another older prospect. He was someone who lit up the tournament last year though for BYU. I don't remember who they faced, but he was awesome in their one game.
There's some
remember
really skinny, tall shooting guards in this draft. He's 6'6", 189 pounds.
Yeah, he's not doesn't look very strong either. But he's someone who
long wingspan though, 6'11" wingspan according to Tankathon.
I want to say he tested the waters last year, and so that's probably where they got that measurement from. I think I could be wrong though, but like he's someone who, for them specifically, like he shoots a lot of threes. He can be like a tertiary playmaker if you want him to be. He's okay defensively. Nothing that you're going to scream about.
His box plus minus is terrible defensively. Terrible. It's like a 1.
But he's someone else who I thought about putting on this list, but I didn't.
I gotcha. Well, I mean, it's not a. You know what this proved to me? This little exercise of doing this list. The shooting guard class is actually not that deep. It isn't.
It's top heavy.
It's very top heavy. Very top heavy. The shooting guard class. You know what? That's interesting. That's an interesting pod topic we can do. Once we get through, what is it? The wings? That's all we have left are wings. Once we do the wings, which are small forwards, we can go through and be like, how deep is XYZ position group? And just talk about which position groups are the deepest in this draft.
I mean, if I were to give my very initial analysis, I would probably say the bigs are the deepest.
Point guards are pretty deep too, though. Point guards are pretty deep also.
Even though we're not high on most of these guys, or as high as the consensus on some of them.
Yeah.
Sure.
Did you freeze? What'd you say? Oh, you said
no,
sure.
I'm just saying, I know we're not as high on some of the point guards as the consensus.
Right. No, for sure.
Sure. That's point guard is another deep one too.
Because I think as you go down the list and you start getting into that second round, I don't want to do this on air because we're ruining a future episode. But there's guys that are going to be in that second round that are going to be contributors and be able to, make teams better from that point guard list. But so we'll talk about that at a later date. But that's all I got for today, Matt. Tell the people where they can find you, follow you, and get more of your work.
You could find me at NPH_824_ on Twitter. You can find me hotonhoops.com, mountainwestconnection.com, VendettaSportsMedia.com, as well as playback.tv/5RSN and playback.tv/hoops profile, where we're at right now.
Absolutely. And we do this every Tuesdays and Thursdays. We do live broadcasts. We're doing them from our playback room on playback.tv/hoops profile. Find this content on YouTube. So if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe. You can listen to the podcast while you're traveling, working out, anywhere podcasts are found, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, any of those places you listen to podcasts. I'm Digital Adele. You can find me under that moniker, any social media place. That's all I got for now. I'll see you guys next time.